So I have a real blast from the past here. This is a nostalgic set for me. This is one that back when I was in third grade, 1998, I was going through the retail aisle and I would see the Skybox Metal Universe. And this is the football set. I do have the baseball as well. These are the complete sets of each. I think football is a little bit more in terms of the number of cards in it. So we'll take a peek at this boxed here. Bought off of eBay, and instead of picking through and putting it all together myself, I just bought a complete set. This one has them all in penny sleeves, ready to go. So we will, I think it starts on the right here, number 1, which I believe is the Rice Man, Jerry Rice, the GOAT receiver. And, just these cards immediately, the thing that sets them apart is that the background for each one. You got a San Francisco Bay Area one. Sometimes they're related to the locality of the team. They're just, in my opinion, one of the finest designed cards. I love the sense of relationship to the team, the location, and then it's very flashy. It sets it apart from, I think, any other series of cards I've ever seen. So it's a personal favorite of mine. It's nostalgic as well, like I said. So it starts off with the Jerry Rice there. The back also has this kind of late 90s feel to it. Turn of the millennium, right before that time. So it just really holds, like I said, a lot of meaning for me in my my formative years there, entering into the trading card field and just kind of spending my own money and deciding how I'm going to spend that, and just saying, hey, I want to get some football cards and also baseball cards, and really just a lot of memories coming back to me. Just start looking at these. Mushin Muhammad there for the Panthers. Ed McCaffrey, Broncos, Super Bowl winning receiver there. Brett Favre being taken down by a Buccaneer there. You got Troy Brown. I love those the fall leaves in the background there. Just again, these background shots they put on each of these, just incredible. Brett Johnson for the Vikings. Elway. Yeah, Herman Moore, really good receiver for the Lions for a lot of years there. With Barry Sanders there for a lot of years. You got, I think this is one I already had with, I bought a couple packs of these. I didn't have the whole set already, of course, but this is one I think I had. I had the O.J. McDuffie card. I think I remember that one in particular. Tim Brown. Byron Hanspard. Running back for the Falcons there. Yeah. Rod Smith. Good view of downtown Denver there. Oh, this is one of my favorites. The John Randall with the evergreen trees covered in snow. That's straight up Minnesota right there. And John Randall, one of the all-time great sack masters, defensive tackle for a number of years there. You can see his stats at that point. Already nearing 100 sacks in 1997 by the conclusion of that season. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Bobby Hoying. Steve Young. Another shot of San Francisco there with the trolley cart. Iconic San Francisco. Andre Hastings. Buccaneer. Well, there we go. That's a good one. That's a classic right there. Barry Sanders, the lion in the background. That is great. Bruce Smith. The busted up stop sign. The all-time leading sack leader he was until Strahan took over that spot. Kimball Anders, Troy Davis, Jamal Anderson. He had a bright career for, relatively short time, but that's the way it is for running backs in the NFL. Curtis Conway. Reggie White, Minister of Defense. Jake Reed. This is the rookie year of Randy Moss, so I think the one we have of Moss is not in a Viking uniform. It's in his Marshall uniform. Willie McGinnis, Terrell Davis. And I think, so this is the base card, Joey Galloway. When I had a pack of these, I still have it. It's an autographed Joey Galloway card. That was like, I think that might have been one of the first cards I got that was an autograph. It was a big deal for me. I remember just opening it up and being like, wow, I got an autograph card. It's so cool. Leslie Shepard, Peter Boulware. A ton of these guys are, when I first played in Madden, these were players, and my first Madden was probably Madden 2000 on the PlayStation. So these are guys who would be in that game for the most part. This is about a 2-year period before that game. The Bust, Jerome Bettis, William Floyd, Warren Moon, Mike Allstott. Oh yeah, this is back in his heyday. This is, I guess, he had 2 seasons under his belt at this point. Jay Graham, Emmitt Smith, James Stewart, and Charlie Garner. So that's up to number 44 in the set there. These are all numbered and all in order. So, the buyer I bought these from, or the seller, I guess, I'm the buyer, was kind enough to put them all in penny sleeves here. Really, really did a good job packaging them. Focus back up. Here we go. Sean Springs, he was in Seattle for a while, came over to Washington, was on the Redskins for a good amount of time. I think he was about 50-50 Seattle and Washington before calling it a career. He had a pretty good career. Chris Callaway, Larry Centers. Oh yeah, that's a guy who, I love that background of the Grand Canyon there. But he was a good pass catching fullback out of the backfield. He was definitely a guy who you'd see every Sunday getting a number of catches every week in, week out. He was guaranteed for at least 5 or 6 receptions minimum. Deion Sanders with the Cowboys there. For a flamboyant background with that neon lights. That's card number 50 in the set. 51 is Jimmy Smith. Solid receiver for Jacksonville for a good long time. Jason Sehorn. He was pretty much a lockdown corner for a few years there. He had not a terribly long career, you could say, but he was definitely pretty solid for a good 3-4 years. One of the top cornerbacks in the NFL. Garrison Hurst, he was a top running back for a while there, top 5 easily. Chris Warren. There we go. I think I have another one of these in my collection too. This is a Warren Sapp with the pirate ships in the background there. Corey Dillon. Ooh, there you got the Bengal Tiger there. That's awesome. Marvin Harrison. Oh yeah. He was killing it week in, week out. Chris Sanders. Got an oil rig there in the background because that was the Tennessee Oilers. This was probably the last season before they switched over to being the Tennessee Titans. So this might be one of, it's either this year or the year after they shifted over to becoming the Titans. We got Jamie Asher. The White House in the background. These cards are just really nothing like it ever since either. It's just, to me, it's an iconic series. It's really, really just set apart from everything else that I have ever seen. It's just very tasteful. It looks great. For me, it just doesn't get better than this set here. Rob Moore, Jermaine Lewis, Michael Irvin, Natrone Means. He got a little combine harvester in the background there. Not sure that goes with San Diego or the Chargers, but looks kind of cool. Charles Way. Terry Kirby. Tony Banks. He would go on to be a Washington Redskin eventually for about maybe 2 years or so. I think one of my first Redskin games I went to back in probably 2000 was a Tony Banks led team at that point. There's rest in peace Steve McNair. Vinny Testaverde. I forgot he was on the Ravens for a little bit there. He played for probably 10 teams over his career. He had a very extensive career. I think this was the year after, maybe the year before he went to the Jets, and the Jets were a juggernaut that year. You had Curtis Martin, you had Wayne Corbett, you had Testaverde, and they were, especially Curtis Martin, they were a really solid offensive team that year. I remember playing in my backyard pretending to be the New York Jets, even though I wasn't a fan of the team. I was just a fan of how good they were that year. Dexter Coatley. No offensive linemen yet in this series so far. We'll see if we have a couple on here. Maybe we'll have like a Tony Baselli possibly, or someone else. There's Glenn Foley. Isaac Bruce, Hall of Famer. That's a good St. Louis. Got the arch in the background, the Capitol building, it looks like. That's good. Here we got Terry Allen. He steps up to the Lincoln Memorial there. Todd Collins, another guy who would be on the Redskins, and he'd be a playoff starting quarterback for a little bit. Troy Aikman there. Driving some cattle. If you listen closely, you can hear Get Along Little Dogies. Just put it up to your ear. You'll hear that. Damon Jones on the... Is that the Jaguars? Yeah, Jaguars. Leon Johnson. James Jett. I had a teacher in my 8th grade, PE teacher. She actually taught James Jett when he was in high school, I believe. So he went to, in Charlestown, West Virginia. So she was talking to us one day and was mentioning how, one of my former students played in the NFL. And we were like, yeah, we'll do that one day. And none of us did. Frank Wycheck, classic with the Music City Miracle a year or two after this card here. He was the orchestrator of that play. Andre Reed, the American Bison in the background. Number 84 in this set is Derek Alexander for the Chiefs. Looks like in a Ravens uniform there, but he would be on the Chiefs eventually. Jason Taylor. Yeah, unfortunately for me, he had a great career, but it was kind of sullied when he signed a huge free agent deal with the Redskins and didn't really do much. Did the same thing with Bruce Smith at the end of his career. It's like the classic Dan Snyder move of signing a future Hall of Famer at the end of their career when they were basically not doing too well with their production. There's Wayne Corbett in the streets of Manhattan. Yeah, he was a solid receiver for a good amount of time there. Looks like this was about his 4th full season in the NFL. Pretty steady. He was a steady guy. Napoleon Kaufman. Eddie George. This is his 2nd full year in the NFL. Yeah, product of Ohio State. He was a monster. He was tearing up the league. Ernie Conwell, Antoine Smith, Johnny Morton, Jarris McPhail. There we go, Chris Carter with the classic fingertip catch there. Doesn't get much more Chris Carter than that right there. Because that might be the port city of Duluth in the background, I guess, since it's Minnesota. He's a Hall of Famer through and through. One of the all-time great receivers. And, his legacy is, without him being on that team with Randy Moss might have not had a long career. He was really a mentor right away, and it was just immediately impactful on Randy Moss's career. T.O. Terrell Owens. He's a Hall Hall of Famer as well. Another one of the all-time great receivers there. This time you got Rice, Owens, Carter, and now this is Moss's first season. Entering the foray there is joining them. These are just some very good receivers in this time period here that would go on to have great numbers, great careers, blessed with full seasons of health and just able to reach that potential. Michael Irvin too, I guess we could throw him in there as well. Tony Brackens, Cordell Stewart. Sometimes these, the space shuttle in the background, you would imagine that might be like, Tampa Bay or something, near Cape Canaveral, but you got a Steeler here. Kind of makes sense, I guess. I guess there might be some steel on the space shuttle. Rodney Thomas. That is number 101. So I think there's 200 total cards here, so we're about halfway done. Keyshawn Johnson, another great receiver of this time. His career a little bit murky. Had a lot of potential that maybe he didn't reach, but he still had a great career. See the top of the corner here, a little bit scuffed. I can feel the damage to it. Not much we can do with this. That's a little bit of a scuffed card. Might look for a replacement one for that, but I don't know. Carl Pickens, Mark Brunell. It's funny how this is like the third or fourth quarterback here that speaking. You got Jeff George here, so keeps on going. These are quarterbacks that have been on the Redskins at some point. Although, what am I thinking? Jeff George, yeah, I think he was on the Redskins for one season too. He was on the Vikings for a little bit of time too. Came up with the Colts, was on the Raiders, but he would go to the Vikings and I think Redskins shortly after that. So he bounced around a little bit, ending half of his career. Let's get another stack here. Wesley Walls, remember him? He was a steady tight end. Bunch of tires in the background for Bryant Westbrook, cornerback of the Lions, Detroit. Dorsey Levens, a beautiful nature shot there. Drew Bledsoe, Adrian Morrell, Aeneas Williams. Oh, he was a steady cornerback. He had a good long career. He's already about a little more than halfway through it at this point. He had a long time out there in Arizona. I think he played a couple other teams too before he hung up his spikes. There's Raymond Harris. Tony Gonzalez. This is just after one season of play, so he's only got about 368 yards that year, 2 touchdowns. He would go on to be one of the greatest tight ends of all time. So off to a relatively slow start, I guess, but he definitely put together a number of stellar seasons. Sean Dawkins. Billy Joe Hobart. James McKnight. Wonder if he's related to Brian McKnight. Terrence Mathis. Good shot to downtown Atlanta there. Darian Gordon. Dale Carter. Deuce Staley. Big time running back there. Kind of the pre-Bryant Westbrook. The Philadelphia Eagles running back. Yeah, Deuce Staley, he was a good guy. A lot of good seasons there. Kind of right before he he played every game, it looks like, but didn't get a lot of involvement. But I think he had a breakout year, a season or two after this. Moore, Eric Swan, Antonio Freeman. Oh yeah, he was a favorite of Brett Favre. Touchdowns. He had 12 touchdowns the season before this 98 year. Oh, yeah, he was definitely a stat guy. Touchdowns, yards. He was getting it done. Robert Smith. Oh, yeah. Another Ohio State running back. He had a great career. Relatively short. He probably could have played a little longer, but wear and tear on the body, he hung up the spikes, earlier than people may have wanted. But he was definitely he was a great running back. Tiki Barber. This is his sophomore season here. You can see his rookie year stats. He put together a fine career along with his brother for the Buccaneers as a cornerback. Let's see if I think Rondé's got to be in here somewhere. Junior Seau, rest in peace. Yeah, one of the all-time greats. Productive in every way as a linebacker. Unfortunately, the death too soon. Trent Dilfer. Oh yeah, Gus Ferrant. Gus Ferrant. It's probably the season where he rammed his head into the side of the wall and got a concussion. Unfortunately, that's what he is known for. Jake Plummer. Monument National Park in the background there. Beautiful, beautiful shot for Arizona. Jeff Blake. Jim Harbaugh. The Jim Harbaugh. Michael Strahan. This is after a few seasons. Yeah, he's already been playing for, about 4 or 5 seasons? Already had 32 sacks under his belt, 14 sacks year before this. So you could see he was already developing into that sack master that he is still claiming to this day. Tony Martin. There we go. Stephen Davis. He was my boy. Auburn product. Yeah, he was a really good, just power running back for the Redskins. He was a thunder. Thurman Thomas, all-time great. Oh yeah, look at that yard total. Oof. He was a fine career he had. Scott Mitchell, Dan Marino. Let's look at these stats here. He was definitely throwing up some big numbers there. Already had 385 touchdowns. Oh yeah, Dan Marino. David Palmer, kick return specialist for the Vikings. A little bit of work at receiver as well, but mainly known for his punt return and kick return prowess. Total touchdowns, 2 in his career up to this point. Not along the line of like a Dante Hall or a Devin Hester, but a pretty noteworthy guy as a kick returner. J.J. Stokes, he was paired up with Terrell Owens at this point. Chris Chandler, he'd go on to play in the Super Bowl this season. Defeated by the Broncos, by Elway-led Broncos, along with Terrell Davis. Robert Brooks. Derek Mays. Curtis Martin. There we go. Still on the Patriots at this point. I think the year after this, he'd go on to play with the Jets. Steve Brossard. Eddie Kennison. Gary Collins. I forgot he camped with the Panthers. Shannon Sharp. Andre Rison. Ooh yeah, one of my favorite growing up. Dwayne Rudd. I think when I played Madden, he'd be my outside linebacker. Always play him to get to the quarterback. He was a pretty good pass rusher in the game. I'd usually take control of him on the. I believe he was a right outside linebacker. So he was just a favorite of mine. I'd always take control of him and just get to the quarterback, get to the man. Oh, there we go. First offensive line in the whole pack. We got Orlando Pace. He was a really good left tackle there. When you think of left tackles at this point, you got him. You've got Jonathan Ogden on the Ravens. These were just the prototypical left tackles. Now Pace, he was about 6'6". I think Ogden, he was 6'7", 6'8" maybe. He was a little bit bigger, but Pace, he probably maybe had better footwork. He was maybe a slightly better pass blocker than Ogden. So he kind of had that going for him. Orlando Pace, he was definitely, he might be a Hall of Famer, is he? Or he might have, he's like maybe on that borderline, that bubble. Terry Glenn and Frank Sanders, and got a few more here in the home stretch. Ricky Prohl, Marshall Faulk for the Colts still at this point. This is probably the next season he'd be playing for the Rams of St. Louis at that point. Irving Fryer. He was a Redskins killer for a lot of years there in Philadelphia. He'd be a good receiver for Philadelphia for a good time. Eric Metcalf. Is that one card or two? One. Work done. Yeah, he was one of the most agile running backs. This is his rookie year stats here. Yeah, they put an all-stop at the goal line. He wouldn't really get a lot of touchdowns, but he had a good average, 4.5 yards, almost a carry. He was a speedster. Pretty small, 5'8", 176. But he was definitely quick between the tackles. You give him a hole, he would dart right through it. Chris Dishman, the Washington Monument there. Like, see the artwork there. He's it's basically they insert that Washington Monument in between his arms there. That's some fancy photography work there with the design of the card there. Got Fred Lane, John Mobley, Elvis Gerback with a random house in the background. This is one of the more odd designs. This is nothing too. Maybe it's a historic home. I guess you got the historic landmark sign there. Oh, it's a Tom Sawyer house. I see. If you look closely, it says Tom Sawyer. I can maybe put it in a little bit. There you go. So that's in Kansas City, I guess. Ben Coates. That's another one I had already. I remember this card a little bit. Ricky Dudley. Ricky Waters. He was a good running back for a good time there. Might be on to some rookies here. So we got Alonzo Mays going to the Bears. We got Andre Wadsworth. These look like they're all rookies here. Brian Simmons. Charles Woodson. I think I had actually two of these already. Yeah, Charles Woodson, Michigan. Heisman Trophy winner for defensive player, which was very rare and still is. But he was just that good. You see his stats there in college. He was an interception guy. He also returned. I think he was a kick returner sometimes too. He was just a threat all over the field. He was just an athlete, and he was drafted. Let's see, what was his draft status? Does it say? He was a high draft pick. He must have been a top 10 draft pick. Going to the Raiders there. Curtis Enos, Fred Taylor. I like that background shot there. Just the over the earth. Jermaine Crowell, Greg Ellis, Jaquez Green, Jason Peter, defensive tackle, John Dutton, Kevin Dyson. He had a pretty solid career for the Oilers and later on the Titans. Kusama Mays, linebacker for the Vikings. Not sure if he ever amounted to anything. Don't really remember his name too much. I was a Vikings fan there. I lived in Minnesota for 95 to 2000 and don't remember his name at all, so not sure about that. Marcus Nash, Michael Myers, Amon Green. Oh yeah, on the Seahawks. I forgot he was a Seahawk. Okay, he would eventually be on the Packers. And it was a good card coming up here. We'll see that in a second. But yeah, Amon Green, very good Packers wide receiver for a number of years. And here we go. We got the Peyton Manning. Did not have this one before at all. This is a really good one. This is pretty solid. I'm looking at the corners here, the edges. A little bit, with these cards that are foiled, you're going to have that, you're going to have a good amount of white marks on the edges. It happens. But this one is pretty solid. There's his college stats there. Yeah, this is a highly sought after card here, the Metal Universe Peyton Manning. I mean, the price for this set here, it's usually because of this card and the next card too, the Randy Moss one from Marshall. I mean, the Manning and the Moss rookies, these are the go-to, these are the prized possessions of this set. I like this Moss one. I mean, Randy Moss for me, like I said, I lived in Minnesota. That 98 season, the story I always tell about him is, it was the holiday gift to get for everybody was the Randy Moss jersey. And I was in third grade, elementary school, and I remember we came back from winter break, and I was in the lunch line like the day we got back from winter break, and literally every other person in line had their Randy Moss jersey on. It was just everybody loved Randy Moss. He was the rookie phenom. I've never seen a more groundbreaking player in the NFL than that Randy Moss rookie season. He just blew everybody away, and we already knew he was good. Everybody knew he was good, but they didn't know he was going to be that good, that fast. And he was a fan favorite from the get-go, just because of his explosive playmaking, and it's really something I'll always remember is that Randy Moss rookie season. Very, very much etched in my memories of the NFL at that time. Robert Edwards out of Georgia. You got Robert Holcomb. Takeo Spikes, and we skipped over one actually. How could we forget Ryan Leaf? Ryan Leaf out of Washington State. There, he's a Cougar, and yeah, you'd have Manning drafted first overall, Leaf second overall, and for a number of reasons, Leaf just didn't work out in the NFL. You've got Takeo Spikes. I remember he was just a great linebacker for the Bengals. Go on to play, I think, for the Patriots too. So he played for a couple teams, but Takeo Spikes, he was a really good outside linebacker, good pass rusher, good tackler. Tavion Banks. Tim Dwight. So, as a Vikings fan, his name is a little infamous. This season, he was a rookie out of Iowa. He was fast as all get up. He was just a speed freak, and he would be a great kick returner, both punts and kickoffs. And he would, when the Vikings played the Falcons in that championship game, NFC championship game, going to the Super Bowl, it was the Falcons ended up winning, and Tim Dwight was, the bad guy for us Vikings fans. Vonnie Holliday out of North Carolina. Okay, he was a solid defensive tackle for a number of years for the Packers. Then we got the checklist here. We got Dorsey Levens, we got Jerry Rice, and then we got Dan Marino. So there you have it, the 1998 football Skybox Metal Universe. Just one of my all-time favorite. I love that set. It is really solid. It just so many memories coming back just by looking at those players, and I'm glad I have the whole set now. Something I will definitely cherish. So let me know what you think about that. If you have any memories you want to share yourself, feel free to post those in the comments below, and let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.